How's it going, guys? So I'm back out in the shop. I thought I'd go ahead and do another video for you guys. A question that I've gotten quite a bit since I started doing this stuff is how do I get started with lures? I don't typically use lures. How do I get started? So this is my opinion on the matter. So let's get to it. Alright guys, so absolute beginner on lure fishing. Typically what happens is, okay, how do I get started, right? What lure do I need? Well, my opinion on that is it's a couple things. First off, I think you're transitioning from bait, you know, on a leader to a lure, and I think that the best transition to get your confidence up is probably Gulp. This is actually a big one, but the Berkeley Gulp. Probably a paddle tail of some sort. Paddle tail meaning something that has a paddle tail. Okay, different kinds. There's smaller, there's bigger, there's shorter, there's longer. Probably about a 3.5 inch bait is what you want to look at. I would go ahead and pick up two of the different gulps. There's a shrimp gulp that looks like it'll say shrimp on there. A shrimp gulp and a curly tail gulp or a paddle tail gulp. Probably the curly tail grub curly tail, I think it's called. Pick what color you think you like the best. You'll hear confidence color. Pick what color if you open up your tool bag and you want to pick a lure, or you go to the store and you're whatever color you like the best. Okay, now the thing about Gulp is it's basically bait. It's they put a scent on that thing that it's like a sponge, and it releases scent the whole time. Now, one thing about Gulp is when you're done with it at the end of the day, or before you leave home, take that Gulp off and go ahead and throw it away, because if you don't, you'll ruin your jig head or whatever it is you have on it, because it'll dry up and harden, and it won't be good anymore. Now, to make the transition even easier for you guys, the ones that use popping corks, get the same popping cork that you use for live bait, and put that shrimp lure on that popping cork. That'll help get your confidence up in the fact that it's not actually live bait, and you realize you can catch with that. Another tip: if you're taking your kids to go fishing, instead of wasting bait the whole time, just take a piece of that Gulp, pieces that you've already used that are torn up or something. Just take a little piece on there and stick it on the hook, it'll last quite a bit, quite a long time, in order for they can catch a little pinfish or whatever it is. That's just a little tip. Now, the next thing is, most people that have that fish with bait are going to use something more of a surf rod, probably a 5,000. They're used to sticking this rod into a pole to let it sit there and wait till something bites it. Okay, what's the problem with that is typically they're too big. The poles are too big. Not necessarily the length. 7 foot to about 6'9" is about what you're looking at, what you want to use, with a combination of a 3000 series rod, or 2500 series rod. That's really the perfect inshore rod for lures, for, you know, anything inshore for the most part. That'll handle. You're not going to have a problem catching a fish or handling a bigger fish with that if you catch something bigger. Medium action, fast tip if you can find that. A combo, a 3000 combo, 25,000 combo rod reel will do it for you, and that'll allow you to use your lures or any kind of inshore things you might want to do if you want to transition to lures. Now, this is the type of rod you're going to be holding, and some of them do have the long tails, and you can sit it in a holder to if you decide you want to do that. Now, when you first do that, another thing is, don't let somebody talk you into a 5,000 series rod reel. For the most part, that's a surf rod. Out in the jetties, it's a bigger end, and that's just not the right thing. You don't need that, and you're definitely not going to be throwing small lures with that. Now, the next thing is, when you get your paddle tail, when you eventually transition from the Gulp, this is the reason why you would transition from the Gulp after that. Gulp ends up being kind of expensive. It doesn't hold up like a regular paddle tail would. It's not really plastic. It's more of a I'm not even sure what it is. I'm not sure what it is, honestly, but it will tear up, and but it will get your confidence in the fact that you can use lures. Okay. Once you start changing into well, let me back up. You're going to need jig heads. Okay. So the jig head you're going to probably want to get is, you're looking at from about an 1/8 ounce to a 1/4 ounce. It's a big transition. Now, the reason being is the 1/4 ounce, especially in these, it's still a little cooler and it's starting to warm up, but the idea is, if you're fishing in like Packery, it's a little deeper, you're fishing channels, it's a little deeper, you want that lure to stay deeper. So when you're working that lure, when you're doing twitch pause that you hear, that's going to be the majority of the way you're going to do it. You don't want that lure to come all the way up to the top. You don't want it to stay at the top. The 1/4 ounce will keep it towards the bottom, and that's going to be right now where a lot of the fish are right now. The reason why you would switch to an 1/8 ounce, if you're fishing flats or shorter, something that's shallower, you're going to want that bait to go over the grass and not get hung up. Okay. So, and on top of, then it's going to keep it higher in the column, because when you're twitching it, it's going to stay up. It's going to take a little while to drop back down if you want it to get further down. That's why you would go to a 1/4 ounce. It's going to stay deeper. So, to sum it up, 1/4 ounce, it's going to be for deeper areas. You want it to stay deeper. Okay? Channels, just something that you want it to be deeper. 5, if you know what depth it is, 5-6 feet, and you want it lower in the column where you think the fish are going to be, then that's what you want to use. Now if you're fishing shallower, you're fishing flats, you're fishing marsh, especially the marsh, you're going to want a lighter weight, whether it be a weedless or regular jig head. You want that to go over the top and not get hung up. You want it to stay up on the top. Another thing is, if you're just getting a setup, if you're getting a combo and you've never done it before, I really highly suggest you getting some braided line. You really only need, I found out, I mean, you really only need about 10 pound test line. Get you a nice brand, Power Pro, J braid. Let me know what you guys like in the comments. I prefer J braid, Power Pro, and 10 pound, believe it or not, is more than enough. With a nice, with your pole and with the braid, unless you don't want, the idea is you do not want to horse in a fish. You don't want to just, you don't want to just horse in a fish just constantly. You want this fish, a bigger fish especially, to pull some drag. And you wait till it gets tired. Your pull and the drag will help you bring that fish in and get it tired, and then you're not going to need all that that extra weight on that line. Now I do use 20 pound because I still have 20 pound Power Pro on some of my rods. I plan to actually drop down, but if you feel comfortable using 20 pound, use 20 pound. The reason why you use braid is you're gonna feel that nice those little nibbles, those little bites. It definitely makes a difference. Mono, pure mono, or fluoro is going to stretch, and you're not going to feel those little bites like you normally would. Now, a lot of people, including myself, will actually tie a leader line, about 2 foot leader line. I use fluorocarbon on mine, so I go from braid to fluoro, and that is for abrasion, whether it be the fish's mouth or oyster or pylons that you're around, and that'll help with the abrasion. So if you're wrapping around or doing something like that, it'll help with that. So I hope I answered everything that, just to begin, as a beginner, how to get you started. So let me know in the comments if you have any other questions, if you have any other tips that I can let everybody know, or anything I forgot. So tight lines, guys, and let's go fishing. GoPro, stop recording.